Welcome to TradeTheNBI.com. This is John. This report is for the 12th, and sure enough, we finally reached the 85 range that I spoke about, before the breakout became its full strength. What did we get up to? Actually 85 and a quarter, so right on the money with it. We can see that we're finally reaching a point of new highs, lower shakeout, but still have cyan below the red line. So as long as that's the case, bullish. We did have the positive extreme, which 2159. So even a pullback to there could still be within the bullish classification. So just be aware that there are those retrace potentials, more of them so on the NASDAQ as it's been going. But we've been talking about the NASDAQ being the lead on this entire run in the first place. The S&P was trailing behind it, and the Dow was furthest behind. In fact, now we just get the Dow with the cyan under the red, indicating strong move. Now, even when it turns around on this, there's still going to be a secondary wave to it, which I think should propel the ES right up to the 2200 that we talked about from way back before. USO trying to hold on. I mean, you've got just all sorts of supply issues with the slow to no growth issues. It's a problem. Gold isn't going to go anywhere. It's just going to fluctuate back and forth. There's a need for it for stability purposes, but I think that we're not looking at the era of it skyrocketing because of potential inflation fears. TLT, likewise, already about as far as you can go with it until they announce negative yields, and the euro fit right within the range. Well, we had the broader range up here, but we've been talking about even tighter one that caps out right around the 112 and basically is going to come up to about the 110. So that's pretty narrow configuration. From our case chart, we had the stop that we had set in there. We ended up with a dip, and then it did turn around for a nice buy coming off of all the readings. Got oversold pretty quick on the dip, just to the short algo. Turned around. But we've been following it from the 5K, and there were several interesting details that I was going through when we were looking at the various charts and some of the discussions with the Power Mode 2 and how it's getting adapted into. But we were also, I'd have to scroll back. Oh yeah, there was one. The pink range here, and we were discussing the readings in relation to the shakeout. And if you have all of the lines on, you can see the shakeout where it says blue. This one happened to be at minus 11. Not necessarily as strong. When it gets to minus 18 3/4 or lower, and it creates an interesting, particularly if the MBI, and what I was showing was the statistics, and if you want, you can go back and look at it on the Skype chat from yesterday. Very interesting how the probabilities for shorts that end up in the plus 70 range here on the MBI indicator really turn out to be very effective short setups as far as ultimately reaching the target. I believe this one was a little bit lower. This was the most recent one we had. Okay, so there you can see is 1928 on the blue reading right there. At the same time, we were at plus 70, and that short carried all the way through and ultimately hit the target right over here. And that was, well, in this particular case, 6 points. These are ATR related setups, meaning that based on the average true range, it adjusts the stop, and the stop is 3.5 to a profit target of 3. So the fact that we were getting in the 60-some% win rate on these setups, pretty phenomenal when you have that kind of potential win rate. Now we were showing these came in. These are the red shakeouts of potential overbought coming in. The first one, ironically, even with the 8-point stop that we set up just above where the range went from the entry right over here. And then the secondary one came as it began to spill over. Not quite done. In this particular case, you've got a strong bullish tint from 50K as well as daily, and it's not producing much of a decline in general. We were getting a little bit of a counter spread here from the Power Mo when it was moving on the rising dots with the signal, and then it had the same situation going here until we finally hit this configuration right here where we were heading down, made a higher peak, and then even higher peak on the same decline. So the expectation is that there should be a little bit lower draft unless that gets changed out with a new bicycle. That's the current configuration. Let's take a look at some of the stocks. We'll go in reverse order here. Tesla, again, we talked about this one being one of the weaker ones within the spread. Most of the others had the potentials of DLC spreads starting, but a lot of them were looking at these configurations with the cyan well underneath the red. Very bullish for the most part. Let's look at some of these individual ones here. We got Facebook. Oh no, this was Netflix. Coming up off the EBM, decent ride. Also below the red on the DOC readings there, which indicates that that trend could stay. Likewise, beautiful from Google chart. Nothing to even think about with that one. That's been a nice looking ride underneath there. When you see it like that, then you can just kind of like step back and smile a little bit. FAS, again, it's got a breakout. It's just finally now getting into a stronger bullish one. It was there for a brief moment during the A, now it's returning. So a little bit of a fill back, and then boom, you can take the next ride higher. And we got Baidu coming in here, just making a slow churn to the upside, and Apple reaching new peak levels. There we go. Boom. So it had a couple of positive extremes. Going to have that, but within this configuration of that cyan well below red, I don't think there's anything to be concerned about. So you can look for updates from your emails on just a password. I had to redo the entire website from way back configuration because the other backups were corrupted somehow. I don't know what happened with this, so we're going to get it squared away. But in the meantime, on the Sky Chat, continue to put the video reports as well as updates will be sent out on these programs as they're being adjusted, because you've seen already that significant changes in how they shake out, and some of the indicators already appear. So it should be really beneficial. Oops, not going too far. On 5K. There we go. As always, though, I will chat with you later then. Trade well.